we start our broadcast with the front page. This is a digest of news over the weekend and as we slept. And we start with President Trump. Former President Donald Trump will ask for a federal judge presiding in his criminal case over his attempts to overturn the 2020 election to recuse herself. This along with a change of venue outside the District of Columbia. Trump accuses the judge of being partial against him. Quote, "There's no way I can get a fair trial with this judge." Assigned to the ridiculous freedom of speech, fair elections case. This posted on his social media platform, Truth Social. Everybody knows this, and so does she. We will be immediately asking for a recusal of this judge on very powerful grounds, and likewise for a venue change out of D.C. The federal judge assigned to Trump's case is U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan, known for being one of the tougher judges in cases involving January 6th defendants who were part of the mob that breached the U.S. Capitol. She's delivered harsher sentences for some defendants than what prosecutors requested. In one sentencing, Chutkan described the attack on the Capitol as a very real danger to American democracy. Another Trump lawyer, Alina Habba, she's an attorney for the 2024 GOP hopeful, says she expects the former president to face yet another indictment in the coming weeks, this time from Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney Fani Willis, as previously suspected. I think if you look at the barricades, the fact that she's got her PR team doing fresh pictures for her, it's a good indicator that Fani wants her moment and will get on the bandwagon with the rest of the corrupt DAs and AGs that we've seen around the country. The Fulton County grand jury will soon make an indictment decision against President Trump after an investigation into his alleged attempts to overturn the 2020 election against Biden, an investigation spanning over 2.5 years. John Lauro, another of President Donald Trump's lawyers in the federal case over his attempts to overturn the results of the election, vehemently defended the former president against allegations that Trump knowingly spread false claims of election fraud to remain in power and claimed Trump's efforts were merely aspirational, not criminal. Quote, "The defense is quite simple," said Lauro on Meet the Press. President Trump believed in his heart of hearts that he had won the election. Trump's defense team has argued the free speech protections in the First Amendment shield President Trump from the charges outlined in the indictment, which accuse him of a criminal conspiracy to overturn the 2020 election and obstruct the certification of electors. Out of USA Today, congressional Democrats don't usually lobby to give more airtime to former President Donald Trump, but they are willing to make an exception regarding his criminal cases in federal court, led by Representatives Adam Schiff, the Democrat from California, Representative Jerry Connolly, Hank Johnson, Benny Thompson. Nearly 40 House Democrats signed a letter on Thursday of last week to the Judicial Conference to ask for the body to allow Trump's federal criminal trials to be broadcast on television. The letter argued that increased public access to the court proceedings will be crucial for the health of the American democracy. Addressed to Judge Rosalind Moskoff, who serves as Secretary of the Judicial Conference, the letter requested the conference to explicitly authorize the broadcasting of court proceedings in the cases of the United States of America versus Donald J. Trump. Speaking of other court news regarding politics, this from The Hill. Conservative groups are suing the U.S. Department of Education over President Biden's latest student loan debt forgiveness plan, which was rolled out after the Supreme Court struck down his initial one. In a complaint filed last Friday, in a federal district judge in Michigan, the Cato Institute and the Mackinac Center for Public Policy argued the Biden administration overstepped its authority by announcing the plan and asked the judge to block the Education Department from rolling out the forgiveness plan until the case is decided. The Education Department called the challenge to the plan, quote, "a desperate attempt from right-wing special interests to keep hundreds of thousands of borrowers in debt." This from the Associated Press. The quote continued, "We are not going to back down or give an inch when it comes to defending working families," according to the Education Department. In state news, New York City Mayor Eric Adams suggested over the weekend that the riot involving thousands of young people that unfolded in Manhattan's Union Square could have been driven by outside agitators. Asked about the incident sparked by what intended to be a PlayStation giveaway organized by Twitch influencer Kai Cenat, During an unrelated press conference, Adams referenced Sanad, noting the influencer had a substantial number of followers and that people came from outside the city to be here. We are further looking into were there some outside agitators. You don't come to get free Game Boys and bring smoke bombs and M80s and other disruptive items, said the mayor, mentioning a different video gaming system. We believe there were some outside influencers that may have attempted to aggravate this situation. From Alaska, city officials in Juneau have issued an emergency declaration as a Glacier Lake outburst. Flood wreaked havoc in the city. Structures have been destroyed. The flooding is due to a break on Suicide Basin, a side basin on the Mendenhall Glacier, located about 12 miles north of the Alaskan state capital. A glacier lake outburst occurs when a dam containing a glacial lake breaks. That dam made of ice from the glacier. When it gives way, water inside the glacier floods through whatever basin is available. The flooding destroyed several structures along the Mendenhall River, according to the National Weather Service. 2 homes have been lost, another partially damaged and washed away. Rob Barr, deputy city manager of Juneau, told ABC News. Out of Texas, members of the Patriot Front organization have filed a federal lawsuit against a leftist activist claiming he infiltrated their group and revealed their identities as members of the organization. The activist doxing of 4 plaintiffs as members of Patriot Front cost them their jobs, incomes, relationship with family members, according to the lawsuit. Filed in federal court in the Western District of Washington by a Spokane law firm. The case is unusual. It's an unusual tactic for members of the Patriot Front. The Texas-based group gained notoriety for holding marches with dozens of masked young men wearing chinos, carrying American flags, and chanting slogans. Last year, 31 members of Patriot Front were arrested when police pulled over a U-Haul that was allegedly transporting them to disrupt a pride event near Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. They were charged with conspiracy to riot. Congress should use its authority on government spending to force changes at the Department of Justice and Department of Homeland Security operating under a tyrannical executive branch. So says Representative Chip Roy of Texas. He's a Republican. Roy said he believes the DOJ has been weaponized under the Biden administration during an appearance on Fox News Sunday and urged his colleagues to help force changes at the agencies by withholding funding. I can tell you right now, for all my colleagues, I will not vote for a continuing resolution or any funding for DOS or DOJ if we don't get changes to both. I want the border secure, the congressman continued. I want the DOJ restored to following the rule of law, and we should use the power of the purse. As James Madison wrote in Federalist number 58, it's the most powerful weapon against an over-tyrannical executive branch that we see unfolding right before us. In science today, fusion experiments. This is fusion, which is different from nuclear fission, which splits atoms. Fusion puts them together. U.S. scientists have achieved net energy gains in a nuclear fusion reaction for the second time since a historic breakthrough in December last year in the quest to find near-limitless, safe, and clean energy. Scientists at the California-based Lawrence Livermore Laboratory repeated the breakthrough in an experiment at the National Ignition Facility on the 30th of July that produced a higher energy yield than in December. This according to Lawrence Livermore spokespeople. Nuclear fusion involves smashing together light elements such as hydrogen to form heavier ones, releasing a huge burst of energy in the process. The approach, which gives rise to heat and light of the sun and other stars, has been hailed as having huge potential as a sustainable, low-carbon energy source. In December, Lawrence Livermore Labs first achieved a net energy gain in a fusion experiment using lasers. That experiment briefly achieved what's known as fusion ignition by generating 3.15 megajoules of energy. This after the laser developed 2.05 megajoules and hit the target. This according to the Energy Department. A net gain in power. That is a huge breakthrough. That breakthrough now has been repeated. Out of the New York Times today, a room temperature superconductor. There's a magical material that could effortlessly conduct electricity at room temperatures and would likely transform civilization, reclaiming energy otherwise lost to electrical resistance and opening the possibilities for novel technologies. There is a claim that such a room temperature superconductor published in March in the prestigious journal Nature drew doubts, even suspicion by some that the results had been fabricated. But now, a group of researchers at the University of Illinois Chicago report that it has verified a critical measurement, an apparent vanishing of electrical resistance. The results do not prove that the material is a room temperature superconductor, but may indeed motivate other scientists and future research. In sports today, the U.S. women's national team crashed out of the 2023 World Cup, losing to longtime nemesis Sweden in the round of 16. It was a penalty kick shootout after regulation finished 0-0. They largely dominated the 120 messy, physical, tense minutes. They tested Swedish goalkeeper Zasira Muskovic again and again. They played well enough to win in regulation or at least in extra time, but could not find a breakthrough. Then in a shootout, they would finish at their worst finish ever in World Cup competition. They would say that the World Cup was much more competitive this year. They would say that they were truly honored to play in the tournament, and they have taken their leave in the round of 16, indeed, their worst World Cup finish. Finally, as we move through the loss of rock and roll music icons, members of the legendary British rock group The Kinks paid tribute to the piano player on social media following his death. We are deeply saddened by the passing of John Gosling. We are sending our condolences to John's wife and family, the band wrote alongside a black and white video of Gosling. Ray Davies, a founding member of the group, shared condolences to his wife, Teresa, and family. Rest in peace, dearest John. Lead guitarist Dave Davies wrote, I'm dismayed, deeply upset by John Gosling's passing. He has been a friend and important contributor to the Kinks during the music and time of his life with us. Deepest sympathies to his wife and family. I will hold deep affection and love for him in my heart always. A great musician and a great man. Mick Avery, the band's longtime drummer, shared online today, we lost a dear friend and colleague. He was a great musician, had a fantastic sense of humor, which made him a popular member of the band. He leaves us with happy memories. God bless him. John Gosling, dead at age 75, as we continue losing rock icons from the 60s, 70s, and even 80s. That is the front page for today. That is a digest of news that happened over the weekend and indeed while we slept into Monday. Thanks very much for watching.